The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Made no notes whatsoever on the Book of Boba Fett.
No, neither did I. You're still gonna crush it, you know. Come on, we've been talking about it for the last 3 weeks. It doesn't matter.
So I just watched it and enjoyed it, and then it occurred to me later that we were gonna talk about it.
I watched one of the episodes twice, but that's it. Yeah.
Was it the Mando episode or?
No, it was the Grogu episode. Come on.
Yeah, of course, Grogu. What's he doing in the Boba Fett episode anyways?
He's coming to find his dad. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
I think we're already in.
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett.
Welcome, everybody.
Yes,
we are talking Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, thanks for coming back and listening to this. If you watched it weeks ago, like we did, as you just heard.
Yeah, weeks ago. It's like, wait a minute. When was that again? Oh, yeah.
It only ended a couple weeks, like 2 weeks ago. Right?
I know, but we're already looking forward to Obi-Wan. So let's be honest here.
Right. But yeah, we can't do a podcast with Jeff on it without talking in length about this. So.
Are you implying that you're getting rid of me after this?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it? Yeah. This is my last episode?
This is it.
Jeff, this is what you're here for.
We're done with Jeff. We're done with Star Wars.
And from now on, Jim and I are only going to talk about Italian horror movies. From now until forever. It's not true. We're going to keep you.
Oh, thank you. I'm a keeper. Yay. Just like Grogu. He's like a bad penny.
You can't shake him. You can't shake him.
There's too much merchandise tied into him now. You can't have Mandalorian without Grogu.
Although there's some, they turned face really quickly from the end of Mandalorian.
Yes, we're going to get into that. You want to just dive right into what a jerk
Sure. Well, let's get. Well, I don't want to turn this into a Grogu episode because we are talking about the Book of Boba Fett.
Well,
so exactly there is a main character here that kind of got pushed aside for a couple of episodes.
He is. You have to. You know what it is. You have to look at this. This is just a continuation of the Mandalorian. It's just all one story. So you may take a side character and bring them off and do 6 episodes, but it's always going to swing back to the Mandalorian.
It seems that this season was Mandalorian 2.5. You know, as Battlestar Galactica was wont to do, adding 0.5s to their seasons.
Well, that's because there was 18 months in between episodes. Let's not even go down the Galactica realm. Now you can watch the whole thing, but back then we had to wait forever.
But this really gave us an excuse to see what happened to Boba Fett after the events on the skiff in Return of the Jedi. Because that's what I wanted to know. What happened to him in the Sarlacc pit?
Sure. So we're reintroduced to him in The Mandalorian season 2. And so everyone's super excited. Your favorite bounty hunter, badass bounty hunter, is now back. How did he get there? How did he get out of the Sarlacc? We've been talking about this for years. I can't tell you how many novels and comic books and fan art people have speculated how he got out of here. We know how he got out of there because the damn thing takes 1,000 years to digest.
Well, it was wishful thinking up to that point because he never got out of it until it was revealed unless there's, fiction that I don't know about that's canon that continued his story.
I mean, the Marvel comics brought him back. There were novels, there's other things, but the minute that Disney purchased Lucasfilm, none of that stuff was considered quote unquote canon.
And are the Marvel comics still to this day not considered canon?
Yes, but what we're seeing with Filoni and with Favreau is that they're cherry picking some of this stuff and bringing it back into continuity. So now all of a sudden your Grand Admiral Thrawns who show up in a comic book or in the Zane novels is suddenly a canon character. They may change some of the backstory. They may change some of the origins or whatever, but regardless, they are now part of this canon universe.
Okay, because the Timothy Zahn books, the original trilogy, that was the first time you saw Thrawn. And I remember when those books came out. I'm sure you two remember too, Jim, because we were working at the same bookstore at the time.
Yeah. And they were monsters because up to that point, like that was what a lot of Star Wars fans refer to as the dark side, the dark times, which is there was no new Star Wars stuff coming out. Jedi came out in 83. You had a handful of Ewok movies, the droids and Ewok cartoons, and that was it. There was nothing. No one was talking about making more movies. The toys were drying up. There was nothing. And then Zahn dropped this trilogy of books and boom. I mean, it just exploded. And it really kind of brought Star Wars back.
And Thrawn was such a fan favorite character that they almost had to reincorporate him in some way into the new continuity because he was such a popular villain.
Yeah. So, but he'll show up probably in the Ahsoka series.
Because of Rebels.
Yeah. And the fact that, he was mentioned in a Mandalorian episode. So he's out there. Right. And so is Ezra. There's a lot of backstory, kids. If you're not watching Rebels, if you're not watching Clone Wars in the last couple of years, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but that's me. But this brings me around to my original question that Boba Fett in the canon that exists now was not revealed to have survived the Sarlacc until The Mandalorian.
Yes,
The Mandalorian.
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I will tell you that one of the big gripes about this show is that Boba Fett's the baddest ass bounty hunter in the galaxy. And yet they're playing him like he's a chump. And I'm like, he had 7 lines of dialogue. We kind of filled in the gaps.
But still, that's no excuse. He is still the baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy, regardless if he had 1 line of dialogue or 7 lines of dialogue. I think, because my idealistic Boba Fett show would have him seeking revenge on Luke and Han and Leia, chasing them and refining his carbon freezing skills along the way.
See, I think the problem is that the Mandalorian dropped first, and we now have the badass Mandalorian as like you can't have two Mandalorian shows where basically it's the same premise.
But also, I don't think it's a bad thing to show how somebody's changed. As I said to you guys another week, like he was partially digested. That might change your outlook on life.
Well, that's great for him, but it's not great for me.
But also,
you sit in that pit of the carcoon there and
but also
contemplate all your bad choices.
I loved all the backstory of him with the Tusken Raiders.
Well, that was great. I agree. I loved because I love getting an inside view of the Tusken Raider lifestyle. I thought that was fascinating. I loved it.
That's and I think that was the strong point of this show when we hit at it a little bit last week, which is these flashbacks were brilliant because it fleshes out. You get them current day out of the Sarlacc pit, but going into these Bantha tanks, he's flashing back, and you see why and how he became what he is right now. And I love that stuff. The sense is that there's a certain point where once he's healed, like you never go back to it. And the theme of this idea that he wants to create this family because he has a sense of family from the Tusken Raiders kind of gets lost toward the end. It's only a 6-7 episode little series.
One whole episode is complete. It's like a full Mando episode. That's why I texted you guys and I was like, did you watch that episode? Because that was like a full Mando episode.
Because at episode 5, you're reintroduced to the Mandalorian and you're like, all right, they're setting him up for the season 3. He's got a purpose again. But that next episode where they went right on to Luke and Ahsoka and Grogu, like I didn't see that coming at all.
The big question is Boba Fett's story now done? And is he just going to be a peripheral character in Mando going forward?
I don't think so. I don't think they've announced a season 2 of this, but he is part of the Mandalorian story. Listen, they can't go 2 episodes without going back to Tatooine. For whatever reason, they just keep circling this planet.
And also, there's a ton of unresolved stuff. Like Cobb Vanth was in the Bacta tank at the end of the series.
Spoiler alert at the very end of
And that made me very happy because I was very upset.
Well, he only got shot in the shoulder.
With that hair, there was no way he could die. The hair protected him.
How could he even wear that Mandalorian helmet, though?
But also, so you're talking about the baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy. For my son, the baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy is Cad Bane.
Now, see, that meant nothing to Jim because he had no point of reference to who this character was when he shows up on the High Plains.
And he died immediately. immediately.
No.
And he's not going to be dead. And so that's going to be out there. That's going to be a thing that's going to have to be resolved too.
Yes, there was something beeping on his chest. But at the very end of the season, when they're doing a victory lap around town, him and Fennec Shand. Mm-hmm. And she says something about the Bacta tank, and he says it's being utilized right now. Mm-hmm. I assumed it was Cad Bane, that he was keeping this, because they have this little discussion that makes you realize that they have a stronger history together. Mm-hmm. That even in the Clone Wars wasn't really, it was hinted at, but it wasn't really brought out.
So if Boba Fett knows him, then he should realize that he's not dead. If there's something obvious to us that's beeping on him, it should be obvious to him as well.
Yeah. Well, we never see what comes of the body. So
the other thing that series established is that people who are mostly dead can be brought back to life with the insertion of mechanical parts, because that's what happens to Fennec Shand.
All I'm saying is I'm not doubting that Cad Bane is coming back. He just seemed to go down really easy for such a badass character, for somebody that didn't know him,
but
that
so
was
did Boba
frightened
Fett
of
in
him.
Return of the Jedi.
After
Boba Fett goes out with one hit of a pole,
right, which is very disappointing, and this was disappointing, just as disappointing as to me.
I agree
that this character just was built up and then is taken out.
Just like Cobb Vanth, because when everyone converges at the city at the end, he's not there, and you're like, you really killed him?
So his threat is really disestablished. So if he comes back, he's like, oh, this is the guy that Boba Fett killed at the in one episode last time.
He maimed him.
But then you can make the same argument for Boba Fett. He's the guy who got knocked into the Sarlacc pit.
Right.
Yeah, right. Which was heartbreaking, because I thought this guy was the best character ever after Empire Strikes Back, and then he's gone within 15 minutes of Jedi.
Yeah. I know. They had to move on from the story. What's even more heartbreaking? The Gamorrean guards.
Yes.
Come
that was very
on.
sad.
That was not necessary at all.
Because they
take
were
out
so
some
loyal.
of the mods. Don't take out the Gamorrean guards. You saw them fighting in like an arena at the beginning. They have fighting skills.
You know what Boba needed to say? Well done, pigs. Well done.
Actually, it's that'll
do.
Yeah.
That'll do, pigs. That'll do.
Pigs. That'll do. I did not like the Gamorrean guards going out like that. That was rough. But so it looks like Cobb Vanth will be coming back, and he will be modified.
But wait, let's go back to the Sarlacc.
Okay, we haven't even.
Let's go back to the Sarlacc pit. So
yes,
we see in the flashbacks in the Bacta tank that Boba Fett wakes up in the pit. He sees a stormtrooper next to him that's already, digested.
Slightly digested,
But here's my question, is that the Beskar does not completely cover him.
No.
So his arms and legs should be dissolved, right?
Over 1,000 years. This thing's like a slow kill.
Yeah, but then anybody would be alive in there. The stormtrooper would be alive talking to him if that was the case.
Unless he ran out of air, or he didn't have the resources that.
But you would assume that he went in at the same time. Was there a stormtrooper?
No, there was no stormtroopers during the explosion of the sail barge. So you would think maybe these are the guys that were out looking for R2 and 3PO.
Right.
He didn't have the sand trooper armor with the orange shoulder pad or anything like that. Who knows where he came from?
But I assume that's why he's in the Bacta tank, because of the burns that he suffered.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, because his face is really scarred at the beginning of the series, and by the end he's not.
I just think that he would be more handicapped than he was. But my other point is that even though he looks at the Tuskens as family, do they? Because they seem, even at the end, to treat him as kind of like a novelty pet.
I mean, your dog thinks that you're his family. You feed him treats.
Even though I loved the Tuskens and their involvement in the show, the relationship just seemed iffy, that he was so tied to them.
It felt like when they gave him the stick, like that he had earned that right.
Yes,
that he was then a part of their tribe.
Yes. Yeah, because they did.
But still, that's like teaching your cat to use the toilet. Look what he can do. How adorable is this? He's got our stick and he can use it.
They let him lead the raid on the train. I'm just saying, I don't think that was, it felt to me like they had accepted him. Like he had to work really hard for that acceptance.
The one thing that's really tough in these flashbacks, you have no sense of how long he was actually with them. And apparently you're talking like 5-6 years. But then again, on Tatooine with double suns, that could be like one rotation around. Who knows? It does seem like he was with them for quite some time. Mm-hmm. But then they kill them all. So, and that's just another setup with the Pikes. Yeah, there's some really good stuff going on here, and there's some not so good stuff going on here. The biker chase scene with the Power Rangers kids was really the modified Vespas. I get it that they were kind of a nod to Lucas's obsession with the hot rod and so whatnot, but it came across as kind of goofy. But I enjoyed this. Robert Rodriguez. The one thing I will say that I didn't like, I don't like it when they bring in like stunt guests. When all of a sudden Stephen Root or Danny Trejo show up, like you're taken out of the show because you're like, it's Danny Trejo. It's friggin' Machete. Mm-hmm. And he's in it for like one little scene. He doesn't show up at the end. If he actually returned as a character and fought beside them, I would have been into it. But he shows up for a glorified cameo and then walks away. I don't like stuff like that. You want to throw Daniel Craig into a stormtrooper armor, and you never know it's him until after the movie comes out, or Simon Pegg hidden, underneath the alien makeup. That's fine. But when these guys are just, I don't like stuff like that. But that's just me.
So now we can get into Grogu, I think. I was really tiring of the whole Pike Syndicate melodrama. And I think Mando and Grogu came into it at exactly the right time to liven things up. And again, the surprise that Grogu was even in it at all. Like I said before, a completely Grogu-centric episode, the next to last.
Yeah. And I will say, I think that they updated his little puppet because he looked fantastic, even more detailed than the last time we saw him. He got a budget upgrade.
I wanted to talk about something that I think really bothers me now more than ever. Because Luke forces this choice on Grogu to choose between being a Jedi and like having emotions, basically. Now, first of all, Luke was 100% driven by his emotions in every decision he ever made. Yeah. So of all people, he should understand.
And he rejected Yoda for his friends.
But also, maybe Luke, since he is now restarting the Jedi Order, wants to say, maybe it's not a good thing for people to like disown all attachments and try to be emotionless robots. Maybe we should let people have their relationships, and maybe they would be healthier for it instead of repressing everything until they become Sith Lords.
Which is what happened.
I was going to say, we see what happened to Anakin, right?
And Kylo and Ben.
Yeah.
Right. So I was so angry. I was like, Luke, of all people. And even at the end, when you see him again in Last Jedi, he's still being driven by his emotions. Yeah. Every decision he's made is because of his emotions, not this person who has like broken all attachments. And look, even the presence of Ahsoka, she says, I'm a friend of the family, right? Like she's there because
you're a lot like your father. Yeah.
Right. She's attached to Luke because he's like Anakin. It's ridiculous, this notion that
the fact that he's laying this decision on basically an infant.
A baby, right. Not only that, when the kid doesn't make the right choice, he sends him back with R2. He doesn't even, what's he doing? The Academy's not even.
He is like the worst father teacher that you can imagine in this. I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed in him.
They have turned Luke Skywalker into a jerk. Oh, you chose him over me? Fine, get out of here. R2, drive him home. There's still people after this thing. The whole reason at the end of Mandalorian that Luke Skywalker shows up to save him is because he's being hunted.
Right.
So now you just send him in an X-Wing fighter? Listen, when that X-Wing fighter shows up at the end and lands in Peli Motto's, you're like, Luke Skywalker is going to come and he's going to fight alongside these two, and this is going to be epic. And no,
No.
Yeah, he stayed home. He had laundry to do that day. Yeah.
I mean, I think part of the reason why they set it up is because I know we've talked about this before, the samurai film influence on Dave Filoni in particular. And as you know, I watch a lot of samurai movies, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Lone Wolf and Cub, which has always been implied sort of throughout the relationship between Mando and Grogu. But there is a scene in Lone Wolf and Cub where Daigoru, who's the cub, the little boy, has to choose between a ball and a sword. And that is functionally the choice that Luke is giving to Grogu, right? He's giving him this choice between this armor from this person who he clearly thinks is like his father.
Yes, his only his only physical, emotional attachment.
And having a lightsaber, and
he literally got his ball though, because Din Djarin had it waiting for him. He's like, here, I saved this for you, kid.
But I mean, it's so delightful when he sees him because he just throws himself at Mando.
Oh, he force throws himself at him. Yeah. Listen, that last episode with the fight, I don't care what your issues are. If you're not on board with Boba Fett riding on the back of a Rancor,
that was a complete callback to the holiday special when we first see him.
Yeah. Because he actually tells, I think, Danny Trejo's character at one point, I've ridden bigger.
Yeah, well, that was the Boba Fett that I wanted. So I really loved the last episode. I don't care what the online peanut gallery is saying.
I do want to point out, though, during that battle sequence, they all of them, I can never pronounce this character's name, the Black Chewbacca, who's awesome, by the way. They can't get through the armor of this force field of these giant probot droids. If anyone remembers, and Christina, you probably will, the very first Clone Wars movie, Anakin and Ahsoka are fighting basically the exact same battle. They're dealing with these droids that have these force fields that they can't penetrate. So what does he do? He hides under a box and he waits for the thing to walk over him. And then he pops up inside the force bubble and then just takes them out. That was frustrating for me that they just kept shooting everything they had at the flamethrowers.
Didn't they show one of the Pike Syndicate remote controlling these things? Because when the robots come, you see one guy like on a tablet.
Oh, maybe.
Like, take that guy out and problem solved.
That is true. Listen, the mayor, who's this Hammerhead character, it's a practical effect, by the way. He's a real puppet muppet, whatever you want to call him, voiced by Robert Rodriguez, who directed a handful of those episodes. There's a lot to like about this. It's a lighter tone, I think, than The Mandalorian. But yeah, the two strongest episodes, Boba Fett's not even in it.
I liked the scene at the end, though, when Fennec Shand came in. It was like Jean Reno at the beginning of The Professional.
Yeah, I feel like these two are going to come to blows, though, that there's going to be an issue where she's like, all right, you know what? We got to take more drastic measures to keep these people in line. He's a little too like, oh, that's what you want to do? All right, we'll do that. Like, he's just a little too like chill. I'll also bring up this, which nobody has mentioned yet. Early in this, like maybe episode 2, when he goes and he confronts the biker gang and beats the crap out of them in Tashi Station, mind you, there are 2 cameos of 2 characters that were Luke's friends who were cut from the deleted scenes of the original Star Wars. Cammy and Fixer are sitting at the bar. And I lost my mind because to me, that is a deep, deep cut that you were bringing. Obviously, they're different actors playing these characters. But these are characters that never showed up on screen, but they showed up in the Marvel comic because at the time they were still part of the story until Lucas cut that whole scene of Luke actually going into town to hang out with his friends. And I was giddy as all get out. That to me was enough to just, all right, this show can't do any wrong now. So, but you mentioned before the influences of Lone Wolf and Cub. There's so many, like Godfather 2 with the flashback sequences. The attack on the train is like straight up a Lawrence of Arabia. Like literally people have taken side-by-side screenshots. There's a lot of like film history that they're digging into this stuff. You know, even like him with the Tusken Raiders has a very Dances with Wolves kind of feel to it. Yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
I liked it. I mean, I liked it a lot. And I was very happy to see. I was happy to see that Grogu chose Mando. That made me happy.
You couldn't, right? You're not going to have any more Mandalorian shows because, again, this you can't walk into like a Walmart and not see this character on everything from baby bibs to action figures to.
So that answers the question. Grogu really was never a student of Luke's. No. So we're asking, how does this figure into the new trilogy? How does Grogu figure into the new trilogy? They really if they're continuing to go this route, they're separating him completely from Luke's training class.
Yeah, because I think that we theorized that this little armor, this chainmail, would be what saved him from Ben's attack. But if he's not at the academy, then he's not there for any of it.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? Luke could still send him some emails every now and again, the little life lessons or whatever.
Or maybe Luke could just realize that you don't have to do things the old way, which didn't seem to work out that great. Just saying.
I just don't. Luke, they're just setting Luke up. Luke, listen, as a kid, Luke, I wanted to be Luke Skywalker. I wanted to be that kid to get off that damn rock and go out into the universe. And I just don't like what. And we all know how he ends too. That's the problem. That's the sad part.
You know what's funny about this is that we've never mentioned once the CG that brought Luke back to.
I wanted to bring it on the back end because in The Mandalorian we saw him return and everyone lost their minds. It wasn't perfect. Mark Hamill was on set. They had a body double, but after that episode dropped, there was a YouTuber by the name of Shamuk who went and created a deep fake and posted it on his site, side-by-side comparisons of what dropped on The Mandalorian and then what he did. And Lucasfilm was so impressed that they actually hired him for this episode. So listen, kids, dreams do come true, right? You put your stuff out there in the world and people will find you. It was still stilted. It was better.
There were moments when I couldn't tell that it wasn't real, but there were moments when I was like, oh, yeah. I think more so when he was talking, like it was the mouth movements, I think, that gave it away the most.
Here's what I'll tell you about they did not have Mark Hamill on set for the dialogue. What they did is they have an AI software called Respeecher, and they took thousands of hours of his dialogue from television shows, from animated, and they created a library. It was very emotionless. And I guess maybe that's what you want from a Luke Skywalker who's going to be training these. I don't know. But that was a little bit of a drawback. But still, I mean, compared to what we saw in The Mandalorian, and if he shows up again, it could be triple what we just saw. It could be flawless.
And do you think it was just more than a little cruel to have that Jedi teaching ball zap little Grogu numerous times?
No, you got to do what you got to do, man. If you got to get
he's a little baby. It's like putting an electric dog collar on a baby.
But he looks like a baby, but he may be 100 years old.
He's a baby.
In our time.
He's in a car seat.
That is true. Oh, yeah, we didn't even talk about Mando's new ship, which he's spending the time. Peli Motto, I know a lot of people do not like this character. I adore this character.
I think she's great.
I think she's a lot of fun. Like when Grogu first lands and she realizes it's him, you have a name? That's a horrible name. I'm just going to call you Bright Eyes. And I'm like, oh.
I love this whole thing where she apparently dates a lot of Jawas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're hairy. Oh, when she started speaking Jawaiese, that was beautiful. The nerdy stuff like that is just fun.
Yeah, it's very, very fun.
Who's crying about this stuff. Yes, Cad Bane will be back. Cobb Vanth will be back.
Right.
I'm convinced his name is actually Cobb Vance, and everybody just lisps when they say his name. Yeah,
it is kind of a mouthful.
It's so funny because my son was like, so Timothy Oliphant just plays sheriffs pretty much. I was like,
he's typecast at this point.
I guess so.
Yeah, Danny Trejo just plays badasses.
To me, he'll always be Seth Bullock, but he did have that whole period on Justified where he was a marshal, right? Functionally the same kind of character.
Right. Can I ask though, why did he think that his armor was still inside this Sarlacc? There's a whole sequence where they literally take the Slave One, after they get it back, by the way, and drive it down the throat of this creature to retrieve his armor. But he came out of it in his armor and the Jawa stole.
Because he was unconscious when he came out of it, right?
So he just assumed that he came out.
So maybe it rolled out into who knows?
I think he was in his.
He used the flamethrower.
But he knew that the Tuskens didn't have it, and it was gone. So Maybe he just made the assumption.
I think he just wasn't in his right mind when that happened.
I guess. Yeah, that was a weird thing for me. I'm like, what are you doing this? It was a cool sequence, but it was all for naught.
I mean, someone should like flamethrower the Sarlacc. Like, what point does it have in the ecosystem?
It's no different, right? The guy's just in the sand, minding his own business. You throw something in his mouth, he's going to eat it.
I saw something really funny online. It was like one of these side-by-side memes. Somebody posted, "You're telling me that the Sarlacc can pull down a spaceship, but Lando got out easily."
That's right. A little higher.
I enjoyed this. I did think that maybe the series overall would have been better served if they hadn't had like 2 episodes kind of hijacked by the Mandalorian. I think it would have been better if they had done more establishment of the conflict that was happening, in the present day for Boba Fett, because I feel like it was very rushed. They were setting up this thing with the syndicate, and it was... Yeah,
I don't think they were that strong of bad guys. That's why.
And it was basically done in bookends, like between flashbacks.
Correct. Right, yeah.
And I didn't think that was great for the sort of present day story. I don't understand why they didn't just present it in chronological order.
Linear order.
Yeah, they're just...
I like the flashbacks, but yeah, the flashbacks were stronger than the current...
but why didn't they just start where he came out of the Sarlacc pit, is what I'm saying. Why didn't they just start there and then move forward? Because
I think that they felt that the story maybe wasn't strong enough, that they had to stagger it out. Because I didn't feel that it was. And I'm already saying that I really prefer my Boba Fett as a bad guy. And he had character development, but I didn't want him to have character development.
No, you just want him to be a badass.
Yeah.
We're going to have Fett therapy after this.
But it is kind of manufactured, like our idea of Boba Fett as the badass, because there really isn't anything in the films to imply it other than the fact that he looks cool.
And that's why you want to see it so badly. You want that justification.
Yeah. Why do we not
just like we were so happy to see young Luke again, because we never, as Jeff often says, we never got to see him in his full Jedi heyday. And you got a little bit of that at the end of The Mandalorian.
Apparently he's not a great teacher, so there never was a Jedi heyday.
No, he should just go back to Tatooine himself. Do some moisture farming and rethink everything.
The thing is like, if you think about it, Boba Fett doesn't even capture Han Solo.
No, he's like a TV dinner, and he's like, "I'll take that. Thank you very much."
I mean, he just sort of hangs around. It's like in the right place at the right time. He gets Han Solo because Darth Vader's like, let's test.
You were the first one to make it here, so right.
We should have a historical Boba Fett show that happens before the events of Empire Strikes Back, where he's competing with the likes of Bosk and IG-88 for bounties.
That is exactly what you want to see. You want to see them like all chase after him after the Empire Strikes Back, because he's got the golden prize now. He's got the golden ticket.
And I would love to see a conversation like when they're on the deck in Empire, like, "Oh, you," when he sees that Bosk is there, you again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they know each other. Maybe we'll see that, maybe him and Cad Bane will sit down, have some coffee and reminisce about the good old days.
And now that we know what these IG things can do, forget about it.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it. You can put anybody in that armor now. That was fun.
I think Tamara Morrison's very good at that.
Oh, I love it. I love the fact that they went back to the well and pulled him out. Mm-hmm. I really do. And again, I have friends who are like, "I don't need my Boba Fett fat and old. What was up with the dance?" Fat. And I'm like, he's stocky. He's built. Yes. The guy's 61 years old, and he is probably fitter than most.
He is pushing the constraints of that Beskar in the chest, I do have to say. In Mando,
I don't mind that.
He could probably beat up most of these online haters. So.
Oh yeah, definitely, and I would love to see that.
It did take him until the entire series to remember he had a flying backpack, though. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got one of those." Come on, the two of them fighting side by side
it's great.
It was a lot of fun. And then Jim, you had to at least get a little giddy with the straight up kaiju call.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that. And the King Kong of the Rancor on the building. It was
the Rancor did more damage than these robots did.
Yeah, it did.
He's like, "You know what? You should just get rid of this thing."
I knew that they weren't going to have a Rancor eat Grogu, but I was really frightened for him when he approached that big open yaw, even though he was.
Oh, Grogu sleeping next to this thing was the most adorable thing I've ever seen in my life. He's like, I'm tired. I wipe myself out.
I know. He's like, I worked very hard and I'm very small.
That's right. Mm-hmm. I came back just in time to save the day. Thank you very much, everybody. Did R2, I guess, just went home. R2 could have actually had a reunion with R5D4.
I guess so. I guess he just left.
If you didn't blow a motivator, none of this would have happened to me. Thank you very much. I've had a very fulfilled life.
The scene, though, at the very end when Grogu's in the little seat in the back and he has the ball.
He's tapping on. He's like, yeah, can we go faster? No, not again. What are you doing it? Go faster, Dad. Go faster. What kid didn't tell your dad to go 65?
He's like, you know how much gas this uses when I do this?
How's he going to collect bounties in that thing, by the way?
I don't know. I think it's going to be, his phrase, bring you in warm or bring you in cold. I think everyone's going to be cold.
And you're just going to tie. He's just going to tie to the hood.
The dead body's going to be towed behind the spaceship. I think he needs a new Razor Crest.
He needs something. Yeah, he's gonna have to get a hold of a bigger ship, and then this will be like his little
something with another toilet at least.
He spent way too much time. He spent way too much time modifying this. Oh, and I didn't even bring this up too because Peli Motto was sending the Jawas out to get different parts.
Right.
And I don't remember what the part is, but it's this big long pole that they bring back to him. It's like a converter, whatever. That's the thing that they use when they're trapped inside the Death Star's trash compactor to hold the walls back. So they went to that level of now giving that thing a name and a purpose. And I'm like, you got way too much time on their hands. They're just, what else can we do? Like, it looks like they took the box of Star Wars toys, dumped them all out, and it's like, all right, who do you want to play with who? Well, I want Boba Fett on top of this Rancor. Let's do it. Whatever. Write these guys a blank check. I'm still in.
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it throughout. I had no complaints. And, except for the fact that I was honestly angry at Luke for being a jerk to Grogu.
Yeah, I'm not liking this.
I agree. I love that episode, though. I think Grogu's cuteness was unrivaled in that episode.
And I don't think we saw Ahsoka coming back, so that was a surprise.
That was great. Even just to see her for a few minutes.
But even Luke says, "Well, I see you again." You shouldn't care because you don't have attachments.
You shouldn't.
That's what I'm saying. Luke is more guilty of this than anybody. And the fact that he presents this choice to Grogu is shocking to me.
But we don't know how it played out. We just see him offer it, and then all of a sudden, Grogu is like kicked out. That you just see him like whimper back home, going, "All right, well
I don't think
I passed. I failed. I dropped out of school."
I don't think that Grogu has Yoda's lightsaber. So
I was waiting for that. But he gave it both to him. But
R2 is like, that should be mine. That should have been mine. That lightsaber.
See, the thing that I thought they were moving toward was that Mando would go to Luke for some kind of training because he has trouble managing the darksaber.
Yeah, I think that's going to go back. That's going back, I think, to what's her name though? Katie Sackhoff, Bo-Katan.
That scene where he's trying to fight with it, and it's weighing him down, and the other Mandalorian's telling him it's because you're fighting it, you're not working with it. And so I thought, he's going to this planet where Luke and Grogu are, and he's going to ask Luke for help because this is probably the only person, or Ahsoka, right, who can maybe help him. Bo-Katan's not going to help him. Bo-Katan wants the darksaber.
Well, so did the other Mandalorian. There's only 3 of them left, and he immediately is like, I want that. Dude, you're going to fight amongst yourselves already.
But I mean, Bo-Katan wants it because she wants to rule Mandalore, correct. And there's this stupid rule about taking it in combat. So she's not going to help.
Right.
She's as bad as Luke. She's as bad as Luke.
She's not going to help it. She's not going to help him, learn how to use it properly. So I thought they were heading in this direction where he's going to go to the planet and Luke is going to help him figure out how to use a darksaber, and he's going to get to see Grogu and all this stuff. But no, that's not what happened. No. So he's still got this darksaber that he doesn't know how to use.
I was disappointed that couldn't cut through the force shield at the end.
You would think it could because it can.
You think it could?
It can cut through a lot of stuff.
Sliced his leg up pretty good, though.
Yeah, And I feel like maybe that's going to be a plot point in season 3 of him kind of trying to figure out what to do with the Darksaber and like what kind of conflict that's going to bring him into with Bo-Katan. I actually hope that they get more into the actual Mandalore.
I see what you did there.
Guess we'll have to wait. I don't think they've even started filming season 3 yet. So, well, we have Obi-Wan coming up, and I will tell you, it was announced that this thing's dropping in May, and I immediately assumed it was going to be May 4th because that is Star Wars Day.
Yes.
But, no, apparently Disney and Lucasfilm are smarter than me because they're choosing May 25th, which will be the 45th anniversary of the OG itself.
But also, this is going to be interesting to me. It is this same weekend it was just announced that Stranger Things is dropping.
Oh, no. Wow. I'm not leaving my house.
So I was just wondering, now Disney Plus, I think rightly has done the smart thing in releasing episodes week to week because you keep sustained interest and people keep talking about your show for 5 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever, whereas Netflix has this policy of dropping a whole series at once.
Yeah, you binge it, you watch it, you talk about it, and then you're like, all right, when's the next season coming?
And I'm curious to see how this plays out, in terms of like, what will the chatter be that weekend? Will it be about Obi-Wan or will it be about the new Stranger Things?
Why can't it be all?
Well, we won't know numbers because Netflix just doesn't reveal that. So
unless it's monster number. This is the final season of Stranger Things, by the way.
No, one more.
Oh, I recant my statement.
My husband had to convince me to watch the series. I thought the first series was just okay. I was like, it was okay. And then I watched the second season and I loved it. And then the third season, I was like, I only like about half of this. So I'm not even sure that I'm invested to go all the way through season 5. Like they're really going to have to wow me on the first half of season 4. Because I think that they set up a problem for themselves in the first season with 11, which is that when you have a character who's so powerful, it kind of makes your conflicts seem artificial when you have a character who can just walk in and take everything down. So it's like they're constantly trying to hobble this character so that she doesn't just come in and like sweep the field. So,
it's like the Superman problem.
Well, I guess we'll see. We'll find out. I don't know.
All right. So Book of Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think the consensus is that not quite on par with Mandalorian, but still worthy in its own right. I like Mandalorian a lot better.
Yes. Because he kicks ass.
And I thought the last 3 episodes of Book of Boba Fett were the strongest, but it did have highlights leading up to those 3 episodes for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we'll see whether or not. My assumption is that you've now established his characters back in the universe. We're going to see a lot more of them. So before we leave, I just want to follow up on Obi-Wan one more time because I just learned that Johnny Williams has written a new score, a new theme for the Obi-Wan show.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. Guy just turned 90.
I was going to say he just celebrated his birthday.
Yep. Yeah. He's still working. He's working. He's doing 2 Spielberg's new movie in November called The Fabelmans, which I don't even know anything about. And he is also scoring the new Indiana Jones movie if it ever comes out. So,
if it ever comes out.
If it ever comes out.
And they've actually revealed the title of the first episode.
What? Of what?
Of Obi-Wan. It's called Bartering with Jawas.
I want to see.
You had me hook, line, and sinker on that one. So I'm like, I didn't see this. Oh, great. Well, what else are you going to do on Tatooine?
Yeah.
All right, kids. Well, yes. Boba Fett. I'm glad we got to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And there you go. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. If you liked the podcast you just heard, then please follow TMI on all of our social media outlets. First and foremost, email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. That is tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast2018. Stop over, say hi, give us a compliment. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well, which is also TMI_podcast2018.
And of course, we are on Facebook, facebook.com/TMI TMI Podcast 2018. And it should be noted, we also have a community page, so join the forum.
And if you like to watch YouTube, you can see us at TMI Podcast 2018, all one word. Look for the popcorn bucket.
Popcorn bucket. Or you could just go to our website, which has every link there, tmiconfessionalspodcast.com. And we'll see you at the concession stand.
We'll save some popcorn for you.
And Max Rebo survived.
Yes.
Was he thrown from the sail barge? Like, that was it.
That's it. We're done.
Yeah, we're done.
Actually, he said that, and then I was just thinking, was he still inside the club when it got blown up?
I'm trying to think if the band was. We didn't talk about Jennifer Beal.
I know, Jennifer Beal. I know.
Yeah, that was her. She got blown up anyways. Oh, well. Garza Flip. They're really digging deep on some of these names.